A couple years ago, I made a video discussing my take on Halo Infinite and how despite all of its problems, I still had hope for the future of the game, so long as 343 Industries remained committed to fixing the problems it had and getting its development under control. In a year that saw news outlets and gaming channels talking about its inevitable downfall with missing features, lack of content, and a continuously dwindling player base as a consequence of its premature release, which was preceded by a year-long delay and a story of mishandling and mismanagement from the developers, right down to the broken tech the game was built on, I wanted to be a voice of encouragement and positivity for it, so I could give hope to what remained of the player base for Halo Infinite and anybody else who was interested in it. The video went over very well for a channel of my size, garnering over 2,400 views and netting my channel 18 new subscribers. In the time since I uploaded that video, many of the things that I had predicted and hoped for Halo Infinite did, in fact, come to fruition. Forge mode has become the saving grace for the game, and because of it, the map variety in Infinite is arguably larger than any other Halo game to date. After the release of Season 3, it seemed like 343 Industries had finally reached their goal of achieving seasonality by consistently updating the game with new battle passes and maps, and combined with the free event passes and rotation of new game modes, it seemed like the developers had hit their stride with Infinite, and the game had finally become what fans had always wanted it to be. That momentum followed the game for a while, right up until the end of Season 5, when the game moved away from the Season and Battle Pass system in favor of smaller content updates, with only the free 20-tier event passes taking their place as far as earnable content was concerned. This understandably killed a lot of people's interest in Infinite, and now it feels like the game is back on life support, with no real hope of things getting any better for the foreseeable future. I have been with Halo Infinite since the very beginning. I participated in the technical tests, and I've played the game consistently since it launched back in 2021, and have witnessed the game's highs and lows throughout the years. If you've been following the game for as long as I have, you know that Halo Infinite has never really had the opportunity to be experienced the way it was meant to be from its inception. There has always been a caveat with Infinite, ranging from the lack of content when it came out, to the networking being broken, to the skill-based matchmaking making the game a chore to play online much of the time, and a whole lot more. There has not been a single day where the game has been fully functional in every capacity, and now that the game's development is finally finished and it's approaching a content-complete state, it's very easy to chronicle the entirety of Halo Infinite's development and see that it was doomed to fail right from its very inception. As a brief recap, Halo 5's negative reception left 343 Industries in disarray, leading to the cancellation of their previous plans for Halo 6 and starting the chain of high-profile developers leaving the studio. Not only was there a problem with the studio's leadership, but the development was further hindered by its code development nature, as much of Infinite's development was outsourced to companies like Skybox, Sparesoft, and the Coalition, alongside an unusually large number of third-party contractors. This lack of good leadership and unity in the direction of Halo Infinite's development is like a sniffly nose before the flu sets in and destroys your body for a couple weeks. Or in 343's case, destroys their game for good. And then the actual sniffly nose set in, because the pandemic happened in 2020, which forced everyone to stay inside and restricted them from going to the office for work, which led to Infinite's development becoming even more segmented than it was before. This matters because as a game's development becomes disconnected like this, it compromises on the developer's ability to properly communicate, test the game, and implement new features and fixes, since one side of the development is well versed in the areas of the game they worked on, while being completely clueless in others. This was made exponentially worse by the Slipspace engine, which is essentially a heavily modified version of the Blam engine, the tech that every other Halo game in the franchise was built with. Everything we know about the Slipspace engine points to it being extremely burdensome to program for. New employees coming to 343 have to spend ages learning how to use it. Adding new content to the game on top of existing content took an extremely long time to do, and a lot of development time was wasted trying to fix it in the years following Halo Infinite's release. 343 Industries has completely moved on from the Slipspace engine in favor of Unreal Engine 5 for future Halo games, and to this day, it has stood as a roadblock to Infinite's development. Between the continuous reshuffling of studio leadership, the outsourcing of its development, and the technical debt brought on by the game engine devs were forced to work with, it's a miracle that Halo Infinite was able to reach the state that it's in now. All of these issues have resulted in a game that failed to deliver the experience that fans deserved, and Microsoft ultimately abandoning further development on the game less than 3 years after it launched. As frustrating as that may be for everyone who's invested their time and money into Halo Infinite with the hopes of it getting better, is it really a surprise that Microsoft has ultimately decided to stop further development on a game that they sunk hundreds of millions of dollars into, only to be left with a product that couldn't possibly deliver on the promises that it made for itself? I've seen so many comments and videos across YouTube talking about the item shop prices being unreasonably high, but the reality of the matter is, Microsoft is just trying to recoup as much money as possible from the game after having invested so heavily into its development. This is in no way me defending Microsoft or any of their practices, it's simply an objective fact that video games are a business, and the goal of any business is to generate profit. If a product is unable to do that, then its parent company has every right to stop investing further resources into it and attempt to recoup the loss. This is just the way things are in the business world, and companies will always do whatever is in their best interest as a result. Halo Infinite stands as an example of what happens when you attempt to deliver a product without a unifying vision. When you have no stable leadership, your engine programmers leave the company, and you outsource your development to third-party contractors in multiple different studios, you end up with a product that fails to deliver, and you lose the audience that drives its success. In the years following Infinite's launch, 343 Industries has seen the replacement of all of their top leadership, and it seems as though the studio is writing off Halo Infinite as being a mistake. Halo Infinite's time in the limelight has finally come to an end. As we enter the summer months, the story of Halo Infinite's development will likely reach its close. With all of the changes that have been made to the studio and Microsoft, the future of the Halo franchise is in a very interesting place. With the rumored development of a Halo project coming from Certain Affinity, and 343 Industries remaining committed to the development of future Halo titles, it's safe to say that the franchise isn't in any danger of ending anytime soon, leaving fans to speculate on future releases and enjoy what's left of Halo Infinite. I have rooted for Halo Infinite's success since it was announced 6 years ago, so seeing the game end the way it has leaves somewhat of a bad taste in my mouth. Being a Halo fan in the year 2024 is undoubtedly difficult, as we can only watch what happens to the franchise from the sidelines. It's hard to be excited for the future of the franchise given 343 Industries' history with it, and what's next for Halo is entirely up for speculation. That about wraps it up for me today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will talk to all of you later.